The restaurant was glowing with soft golden lights, the kind that made expensive crystalware shimmer and polished tables gleam like mirrors. It was the kind of place people didn't just walk into. They booked weeks in advance, wearing their best clothes and their most confident smiles. Every seat was filled that night, the air thick with the sound of laughter, clinking glasses, and conversations about money, business, and influence. But at one corner of the grand dining hall, a man moved quietly, unnoticed except when needed. He was the oldest waiter on staff, his back slightly bent, his hair a fading gray. His name was Mr. Hayashi. To the diners, he was invisible. To the staff, he was respected but pitied, because while others his age might have been retired, resting, or spending time with grandchildren, Mr. Hayashi was still carrying trays, pouring wine, and clearing dishes in silence. Nobody knew his story and nobody asked, until that night. At the center table, where attention naturally gravitated, sat a striking woman draped in designer silk, diamonds glittering at her wrists. She was a Japanese billionaire, well known in the media for her ruthless business strategies and her arrogance. She had power, wealth, and beauty that demanded the spotlight, and she enjoyed every second of it. People laughed at her jokes, nodded at her opinions, and never dared to question her sharp tongue. When Mr. Hayashi approached her table to refill her glass, her eyes flickered toward him, narrowing slightly. Then, with a voice loud enough for everyone around to hear, she sneered, "Look at him. Still working at his age. Maybe he didn't work hard enough when he was young. Or maybe he just made all the wrong choices." The people around the table chuckled nervously. Some looked away, uncomfortable, but others laughed openly, following her lead. After all, who was going to defend a bent old waiter against a billionaire woman? Mr. Hayashi didn't flinch. His hands didn't shake as he poured the water. He simply bowed, his expression calm, his silence dignified. But she wasn't finished. "Tell me, old man," she continued, tapping the table with her manicured nails, "don't you wish you had done better? Don't you wish you weren't what you are?" The laughter around the table grew louder. Some of the younger guests even leaned in, eager to see if the waiter would crack under the humiliation. And that's when it happened. Mr. Hayashi straightened his back, not fully, but enough that for the first time, people noticed the quiet strength in his presence. His eyes, calm yet piercing, met hers directly, and in flawless Japanese he replied. His words were slow, deliberate, and powerful. "What I am," he said softly, "is a man who chose his family over fortune. When my wife fell ill, I sold my business to pay for her treatments. When my son wanted to study abroad, I worked extra shifts to send him. And when my community was struck by disaster, I gave everything I could to rebuild it. I may carry plates now, but I carry no regrets." The laughter stopped. The air shifted. The billionaire woman's smile faltered, her painted confidence cracking, and those who had mocked him moments before lowered their eyes, ashamed. But Mr. Hayashi wasn't done. His voice grew firmer, though it never lost its gentleness. "Success is not measured by what you hold in your hands, but by what you give from your heart, and in that I am wealthier than you will ever be." Silence fell over the dining hall. It wasn't the silence of awkwardness. It was the silence of realization, of respect, of hearts being moved in a way they hadn't expected. Across the room, a young man stood suddenly, his chair scraping against the marble floor. All eyes turned to him. He was tall, well-dressed, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "That's my father." Gasps rippled through the restaurant. The young man stepped forward, his eyes shining with pride. "I am where I am today because of him. I built my career because he sacrificed everything for me. And today, I am the CEO of the very company that supplies the diamonds you wear." The room erupted, not in laughter, but in applause. Strangers clapped, some even standing, as the old waiter stood humbled, his eyes glistening. And in that moment, the billionaire woman, so used to commanding admiration, was the one who felt small. The mocking smile was gone. replaced by silence, as the old man's dignity outshone her diamonds. What had begun as humiliation ended as revelation. What looked like weakness revealed the deepest kind of strength. The applause didn't stop for a long time. And for the first time that night, everyone's attention wasn't on the billionaire, but on the old waiter who had taught them what true wealth really looked like. The clapping echoed through the restaurant like waves, but what lingered most wasn't the sound, it was the feeling. The weight of truth had shifted the atmosphere, and people who had once laughed now looked at Mr. Hayashi with awe. He stood there quietly, bowing politely, but his eyes revealed something deeper, not pride, not arrogance, but gratitude. His son moved closer and wrapped an arm around him, almost as if to shield him from the very room that had moments ago mocked him. "You don't need to serve another table tonight, Father," he whispered. "You've served enough, for your family, for your community, for me. From this moment, let me serve you." Tears filled Mr. Hayashi's eyes, though he tried to blink them away. For decades, he had worked tirelessly, his sacrifices known only to a few. But now, in front of strangers, in front of the woman who had mocked him, his life's hidden story was finally honored. Something remarkable happened then. A couple at another table stood and approached him. "Sir," the man said, his voice thick with emotion, "I want to apologize. We laughed, but not because we didn't care. It was easier to follow the crowd than to do what was right. You've reminded us tonight that courage comes in many forms. Thank you." Others followed, offering words of admiration, even shaking his hand. The old waiter, who had been invisible for so long, became the center of the room. Not for wealth, not for status, but for the quiet greatness of his soul. The billionaire woman remained seated, her once commanding presence diminished. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Her eyes dropped to the table, avoiding the stares of those around her. No amount of money could buy back the respect she had just lost, and no amount of diamonds could hide the emptiness her arrogance had exposed. Meanwhile, the restaurant manager rushed forward, overwhelmed by the scene. "Mr. Hayashi," he said breathlessly, "I think it's time you retire, not because you can't work, but because you shouldn't have to. Please allow tonight to be your last shift. You've given this place more than service. You've given it honor." The son smiled, nodding in agreement. "Father, come home with me. There's no reason for you to carry trays anymore. I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you. I bought a house, one big enough for all of us. I want you to live out your days in peace, surrounded by love, not by plates and glasses." For the first time in years, Mr. Hayashi allowed himself to exhale deeply, as though a lifetime of burdens had finally lifted. His lips trembled as he whispered, "Then I suppose tonight I go home." And when he stepped out of the restaurant later that evening, it wasn't as a tired old waiter. It was as a father honored, a man respected, and a soul celebrated. His son walked proudly at his side, the two of them silhouetted against the glowing city lights, while those inside the restaurant whispered about the lesson they would never forget. In the days that followed, stories of the night spread far beyond the restaurant walls. Newspapers wrote about the waiter who humbled a billionaire, and videos recorded by diners went viral online. But to Mr. Hayashi, none of that mattered. What mattered most was simple: his family, his dignity, and the peace he carried in his heart. And so, a man who had once been overlooked found himself seen at last, not because of wealth, but because of the richness of a life lived with love. It was not the billionaire, nor the diamonds, nor the laughter that people remembered. It was the quiet strength of an old man who showed the world that true greatness shines brightest in humility.